Good evening, everyone, and welcome to class. This is another segment with us in writing, research writing, and data analysis class. And this moment will be more practical into what we get to know in the first um, episode that we'll go through. But before we go dive into the practical aspect that we want to touch, let me quickly recap some of the journey that we'll analyze together. So in the last episode, I make us to understand the fact that research writing requires some structure that already been in place. What they've already there's a systematic approach that has already been set in place that we need to follow up in our research writing. The absence of this will make your writing outside the context of what research writing is supposed to be. Another thing that I mentioned is criticality in your discussion. What you are writing is not new. So there are diverse individuals that have also worked in that regard. So you as individual new researcher that are coming with your new idea, even not about being new, but what your idea they are coming from is building upon what has already been in place, building in filling the research gap in place. So in your discussion, there has to be criticality in your discussion. You have to be critical. And I explained to you that simpler way to approach this is uh, there's a statement from author A, there's a statement from author B. You are bringing them into your own thesis, not as a descriptive discussion, but you are building on what they've said and what they've said, and you are critically looking into their diverse opinion to now come with your own bedrock where you are lying into what's now your own take from that two aspects. So that aside, the structure for a research writing in either level that you are, either you're an undergraduate, you are a postgraduate, or whatever level that we always cycle around the aspect of introduction to your literature review, to your methodology, down to your result and discussion. And after then, your contribution, and in some cases your your conclusion, and in some cases your recommendation. So this is the journey where you apply through. However, for the second aspect that we want to cover in this segment, which is our data analysis, will be between this journey here, between your methodology and your result and discussion, lies the data analysis. So we want to look into all these one after the other. And like I told us in the first clip, I said is a journey that we are going through. So coming from for tonight, we'll be looking from the aspect of this introduction and literature review. So that is the angle that we'll be starting with tonight. And I want us to understand one thing. The way I used to advise people when you're approaching your writing on normal norms, even when you present your proposal and you prepare your Gantt chart on how your workflow will be throughout your research writing period, literature review will always be from the beginning to the end of your research. You can never stop literature review at a point. Your literature review continues from the beginning of the report to the end. And you ask me why. The reason why, because of this, is when you are doing your introduction, that you have to establish your background to the research. You have to establish depth knowledge that you understand what the research is all about. And how do you understand this? Is by you reviewing what other scholars or other research have actually done. So that one will give you a precept of what you're actually working on and give you a background which you can, as a foundation that you can now build upon. When you also get to your literature review section, where you have to do three major segments, which is conceptual framework, empirical framework, and you also have conceptual framework, empirical framework, and theoretical framework. Depending on the structure of your own research, you still have to establish all these from paper already at published article that have been in place that you have to review to build up on this. When you also get to methodology part, you have to build on review of literatures that you've done to establish which methodology fit into your own research perspective. And after carrying out your research, collecting data, and you've analyzed your data, you still need some literatures that has already been in existence to back up your point, to what, to reinforce your discussion, either to support or to contract or to establish opinion, either way it may be. And when you are also pulling your conclusion will also be supported by this same literature reviews that you carried out. So in short, what I'm trying to hammer on here is, from the beginning of your research to the end of your research, encapsulate the need for literature review. So you can't do without it. So most time when I'm advising people on how they start with research writing, I always advise them to combo both introduction and literature reviews together, because it's a simultaneous journey that the more you are, the way you are doing your literature review, you can be establishing your introduction per se. So let's quickly look into one thing together because of our time. So we'll be looking into both introduction and literature review together. And we'll do this episode, we'll be looking into a simpler approach that we can use for this at first, while we also look into other methods that we can use to establish this. So introduction has its own structure depending on what your research is all about. So, but basically, for every introduction, there is always background to the study, background to the study. So there is always your statement of problem, especially if you are writing dissertation or thesis. There will always be aim and objectives. There is always scope of research, and there's always justification of the research. In contrast, your literature review will cover major aspects, which you can have a concept definition in some cases, where you define some key terms as related to your research. We have the conceptual framework, though sometimes conceptual framework. In my own writing, I used to put this and this together, because in doing conceptual framework also, sometimes we tend to define some terms in terms of theme. So we create theme that will discuss about them, just as if we are explaining what those terms is all about. And we also have theoretical framework, in case your research lies around a theory that has been established or that you are using to back up your research. So you can also look into this. Based on literature reviews, this can be established. We also have empirical framework. This will be your summary and your deduction from some key relevant publications, articles that are related to your study. For example, now, in this perspective, you will be able to lay what the aim of those researchers are, what the method they use to carry out their research, the key results that they achieve. You also tends to identify gap in research, what they did not address, which you might tend to address in your own case. So these are the key parts that you have to do. So in starting this, you have to carry out some certain review, looking into publications online from reputable source, and to reinforce your research and make your research look quality and authentic, you need to dwell more on literatures that you can get from, let me say, scholarly published literature, and not a web-based online literature, probably blog posts or articles that have been written. So you establish more on journals articles that are published, most especially peer-reviewed one that are strong and good for your research. And in you looking for some of this literature, there are diverse platform which you can harness to search for your literature review. Some of them is, which is more crucial, that we'll be looking into some of them tonight. We have our Google Scholar. We have Google Scholar. I use this more often. We have Scopus, Dependent. We have Science Direct. We have tons of them, but these are just few that we can look into. We have am I forgetting them? We have PodMed if you are in medical related. PodMed. We have we have a lot, but I think by the time I'm dwelling more on literature review for us, I will expatiate more around this. But for tonight, let's just quickly look into Google Scholar, how we can utilize it for literature review, and to get what we actually want to dive into. So another aspect that I'll be explaining under this literature review on a further episode will be the aspect where we need to cover referencing tools. Because one thing I used to advise is, the moment you are carrying out your literature review, it's good to also adopt referencing to, so that you can monitor your articles that you are reviewing at that particular instant. For example, now when I go on Google Scholar and we get some articles that are relevant to this study, I will have been getting the reference stored in my referencing tools with their what's it called, with their full text document supporting them, so that by the time I'm reflecting back on them, I can quickly get them and I can quickly cite them within the space of my work. And some of the referencing tools that we might tends to look into is, we have Mendeley, we have we have Zotero. We also have, why is this thing acting up? We also have EndNote. So, but for this purpose of this class, we'll be looking into Mendeley and Zotero. But I will explain all this one in subsequent episodes, so that this class will not be too much packed. So let's quickly look into one topic that was given to us by students in the class, and let's see how we can utilize literature review and establishing our introduction part. So we'll do a fast approach to it. So the topic that was being given to us is effects of ICT on SME business. SME business, a case study of Nigeria. One thing I always want us to analyze is, whenever we are being given topic, we have to take a close look at that topic, because from the topic you'll be able to know the direction of your research, and also to be able to deduct key things that you need to look into, while you also know possibility potential results that may come out from that research. According to this particular topic, which is something that is currently trending at the moment, ICT on its own, that is information and communication technology, is a big body, is a broad network on its own, which there is diverse tools in place that we can look into. And SME business, which is small, medium enterprise, is also a broad perspective in itself, which you can on the under SME alone, you can look into probably finance, you can look into agriculture, you can look into e-commerce, different angle that you can look into. Giving us a geographical location that we also have to consider Nigeria on its own, which is also a broad phenomenon. However, as individual, the for you to now have idea of what has been done in respect to this, or what you cannot picture your own directory to be, because I can give you a direct that this topic may have been worked on by somebody online, even unknown or unknown to you. But by the time you carry out your literature review, you tend to identify people that have channeled their own research in respect to this, while you can now probably narrow the fulcrum down to establish another path which was not covered by them that you can look into, or you navigate a bit from this exact topic based on how you see different research that have approached every depth that needs to be. But nevertheless, no matter how different research have approached this, there might still be a need to fill some certain place that have not been done. For example, let me uh, address this from this perspective, from my own point of view. For example, now let's assume this particular topic, a student want to work around this topic, and stating this down, doing the literature review, you find out that somebody have already worked on this. Even if not a direct topic, probably somebody has picked a particular arm of this information communication technology, probably uh, just a sector from it has been addressed in respect to SM. So you also might pull from another angle, another point of view under ICT to navigate, or you can be specific under your SME business. Instead of making it a general SME business, you can narrow it down to a specific SME business and look into it. Probably I can just say I'm looking into how ICT has affect finance sector under SME business, depending on how it might be. So that is one perspective that we might look at. But without wasting much of our time, let's just quickly look into this. Okay, so effect, I will type exact topic and let's see some publications that have been done. Effect of ICT on SME business. So let's check exact topic and see some publication that we are. So we can see numerous work that have been done over here. Let me quickly explain this interface of Google Scholar as a plus to some of us that may not know how it works. On Google Scholar, this search box is where you can put whatever you want to look into, which can be in terms of string. What we talk of string is some like keywords, because you know the way our browser used to search for information is it use one each of the word that we put together to look for info around that perspective. But another plus that we have over here is when you click on this three dash, there's this option of advanced search. Under this option of advanced search, you can use that one to look critically in depth into a specific result that you're expecting from your Google Scholar by using a combination of what we have over here. You can use with all word, meaning that every word that appears in what you write over here is what you should look for. Probably you are looking for exact phrase. Probably you are looking for uh, ICT, or you are looking for SME business, small medium enterprise business. So you put it over here that you are looking for this exact phrase within your publication that you want to get, with at least one word. Probably if it's not even having any other finish, you have this word. Probably you have a word that you don't want it to surface within it, you will also put it over here. So here is where you identify whether you should identify it from anywhere in the document, either the topic, either the title, either the introduction, either the abstract, either the main body of the research, or you want to specifically look for those keywords that you put over here in the title alone. Don't forget, if you should search it anywhere within the article, it will bring a tons of articles for you. But if you are looking for it in a title, it might narrow it down to only few, based on the fact that it will only limit it to title perspective. If you have some specific author that you want to review the work, you can put the author over here. And another thing is you work if you are work normal norms, you have to work with establishing your baseline from old publications while you dwell more on new publications because of innovations and different strategies and things new opinions that are set in place. But for example, now I used to recommend for people that when you are working with your research, you should work with the last 10 years. So you can now state it that they are, for example, now you are already in 2016, you can put it that you are looking for research between the gap of 2026. We are in 2026 now. You are looking for the research between 2016 to 2026 as a 10 years gap, depending on what if you are now reviewing on 20 years, you can shift that one back on just to gauge the exact place where you expect your research to come from. So that is the advantage of the advanced option that we can now look into. So another thing that I used to recommend for people to look over here is now that I've gotten some publications that you can see the result over here. We have 34,000 results in 0.43 seconds. If I should tidy up this particular topic and still make it more intense and focused, this exact number may also reduce at some point based on the fact that I probably if I give it more strings combination by using the phrase word that we call by using the word and or that is bully that we used to use to connect in that case, or we use and. So especially if you use this most often within it, it will compound the word and it will narrow down your results that you'll be getting in that regard. So depending on the results quality and specifically focused results that you want from those your search is what you now tell us in. But for tonight, let's just quickly utilize what we have over here. These are some publications that may be relevant for this purpose. So first thing I used to advise to do when you get to this is so that you not be doing double work in most cases. Yeah, for Google Scholar, you might not be able to directly export all your results and import it into your referencing software. But the way I used to work my own out from my own end is, from that perspective, I used to click use this save so that I would be able to save it on Google Scholar while I now draw out that my save to my referencing software. The network is a little bit slow. So immediately you click on save. These are some of the work that I've worked on before that I've saved. But whenever you click on save, it will bring this to you. If you have not done anything before, it will not show anything like this label as, but it will ask you to create a new. So you can create a new one based on that which you are working on, just to create some identity to save it in your library so that you can reckon with them. So I save this one with ICT effect on SME. So anytime I click on save in respect to study that I want to utilize, I will save it inside. I will ensure that I select the ICT effect and click on done so that it will save over there. If you want to check your library after on, you can come to under my library here to check different library that you have. You can see over here different library that I've created for some of my research in past. But for this specific one, this ICT effect and on SME. So these are some two documents that I've saved, which you can click on export to export it for a version that you can use in your referencing tools. So back to where we search from. So we can see diverse of them now. So now if I now want to carry out literature review, the way I will approach this is I will have to look into this. This is a normal route that you can follow. You have to look into these literatures one after the other and see their relevancy. But the first thing I used to tell people whenever you are reviewing such is before you go into looking into the depth of the research, first navigate the abstract of the research of that research, because the abstract of the research will give you uh, little introduction slash aim of that research. It will give you the method that they use, the results they obtain, and also give you the key conclusion of that research, and in some cases recommendation. So looking at these together, you can be able to know whether that particular publication, that article will be relevant for your own research or not. So before you dive into the whole body of that research. But quickly, let's quickly look into one or two from that, because the time is fast spent. I don't want this clip to be too bulky. So the next episode will continue from where we stop here. So let's quickly look into this. Looking at this topic for this title of this research, it interests me because it captures what I think this research is all about. Because looking at this topic now, they are all looking into the impact of communication technology, like we say ICT, on the impact of SME in a developing economy. They are specific now, and the developing economy they are considering is Nigeria a case study. They are making Nigeria a case study of developing economy. Yeah, don't forget we have developed economic and developing one. I believe we understand that. But let's quickly open this and let's check the abstract. So let's quickly check the abstract of this particular research. And don't forget you can download it here as PDF and utilize it. But you can also use the part of downloading after saving them into your library, like the way I showed us the other time, so that when we get to a segment where we check it on, how you save it on your referencing tools, and now you can search for the PDF, will navigate that aspect. But yeah, let's quickly check the abstract. Like this abstract now, specifically, this individual study has used some specific theory which was identified over here, which we also in our based on our review, we can label it down that this is one theory. I'm not saying this is the theory that you use in your research. It's just for you to understand what this theory is about and if it's well suited for that research that you want to carry out also. So under my literature review, in my jotting perspective, I will just label it that we have um social shaping theory. So I will just draw a perspective. I will say for my literature review, for my literature review, I have for the theory, I'm seeing example over here which is social shaping theory. Just noting it down for me to read into it later while I proceed. Okay. So this paper presents a research that examines the impact of communication technology, which they are being specific now, mobile telephone, personal computer and internet, on performance of small and medium business enterprise in Lagos State, Nigeria. If you check the research, this is the aim of their research. They are being specific that they are looking into communication technology in form of mobile technology, personal computer and internet facilities, which they are carrying out in small, medium business in Lagos State. Even this particular research is though they are looking into developing economy like Nigeria, but they are looking into a developed part of Nigeria, which is Lagos State, where majority use technology. Somebody might tend to consider this in where there is less utilization of technology. I mean, some states where there is less utilization, just to see the variation compared to that Lagos. Because Lagos, we know they are is full of high technology and different companies are maximizing that channel. But we have some states where there is low utilization of this in the system. So that one can also be considered just to look for different variation in gap. And we can see from here that they even first give some specific results before they navigate into the method. They said the results indicate that SME operating in different social economy, which is just perspective of what I just gave now, setting presents varying performance results from the use of communication technology. So difference in the social perspective of the settings, probably the region that you are considering, probably for example in Lagos now, the different socialization to ICT related equipment and probably comparing it to another state which there is a low social perspective to ICT and the economic perspective also there will be different performance in that regard. And they show us the method which they use. They study, undertake what? Undertake a firm survey, which is the method, and a number of semi structure interview, meaning that this research used a mixed research approach to carry out this study. So this one may be also be giving you a perspective to your own particular research if this is your channel. And they give us the analysis that they carried out. They said they carry out descriptive statistic and thematic analysis, which the descriptive is for the survey result and the thematic analysis is for the semi structure interview that was being carried out. When we get to the analysis perspective, you understand this more better. And they gave us that the major findings, we have the major finding up to this level. Yeah. So that is the major findings from this research. Communication technology possibly, that is based on when you see anything possibly impact like this, is based on the analysis that was carried out, like the descriptive analysis, and probably looking at the correlation between communication technology and the performance. They show that it show a positive impact, meaning that if the use of communication technology is increasing, the performance is also increasing. Class difference with respect to income, education, disparity as communication habits in the affluent and disadvantaged community account for different outcome in business performance, which was what I explained earlier. Because when you are considering different settings, the social perspective and economic of that region also may affect the overall results. And like that. So you can see from here that we have a clear route. We have the aim of the research. They specifically state the literature review, which is using the theoretical perspective of what they use, social shaping theory, which you can personally read into and look into what it means if it tallies with your own scope of research. And that one, we see the method that they use. Like so, you carry out literature review. Now, first from this perspective, now you can narrow down your even your empirical research about this particular study. Though it will also entails you to go and read depth into that publications to see what they actually get to do within the space of the work to be able to reinforce your empirical review under your literature review. While you can also pick some of the key valuable points from this particular research, cite it within your background to the research as key knowledge of what you've established. So by the time you do some point view like 4, 5, 10, 15 research that's very relevant to your research, you will have been able to establish your chapter 1 while you'll be able to also carry out part of your literature review. And don't forget one thing that I used to give people as a bonus is if you can get 5 key relevant literature that is relevant to that your topic that you want to consider, their own citation, that research is new, their own citation is a balance point for you to also have a broad perspective of research to support your discussion and to look into critically. Not that you just because they've cited it in their own work, you copy it and put it inside your own. No, no, no. You tend to go and check out for those particular one that you notice that in their own citation is relevant to your own research also. You can read through from those one also you can deduct some points that will support your own research. Let's stop here. The time is fast spent. So in our next episode, I think that will be third episode, we'll still look into this introduction bridge with literature review so that we'll look into more depth into how this cannot be surfaced while we utilize it in our writing. Yeah, thank you for joining this episode and see you in the next episode.